Good afternoon. Thank you all very much for coming out here today on a very, very important issue as we kick off National Work Zone Awareness Week. We're out here, we've been moving around the state. We're in Syracuse a little earlier today to get the word out to the public about the importance that it is Work Zone Awareness Week and the importance of paying attention, driving responsibly, acting responsibly. The point that we want to make is that there's no highway construction zone that is no work on a highway construction zone is ever a routine or risk-free day. Every time our workforce goes out on that, it is a high risk. It's a high-risk work environment. We want to try and make the point to the public that they understand that we want our workforce to be able to go home at night. They do a tremendous job in keeping our roadways and highways and thruways safe, efficient, convenient, and affordable. And it is critical that we focus on that, and we get everyone to focus on that this week. Because at the end of the day, we can do all we can as the leadership of our workforce. We can increase and enhance safety. We can provide additional equipment. We can provide additional trainings. We can get the latest technology out there. But if we don't have buy-in, if we don't have cooperation, if we don't have partnership with the traveling public, it's not going to work. So that's the message we're trying to get out this week. That is the theme, that we need the cooperation of the traveling public to pay attention, slow down on our roadways in general, but particularly when you come into a work zone. I'm pleased and honored to be here with our colleagues from labor, our colleagues from government, Senator Cooney, and we've been fortunate to have his leadership as the transportation chair to bring these work zone safety issues and safety in general to the forefront. My colleagues in government, you'll be hearing from them in a little while. Labor, the state police, as well as our stakeholders from industry. You'll hear from many of them, so I don't want to steal their thunder, but let me just thank you all for coming out as we focus on this very important issue. It is particularly important to us here at the Henrietta Maintenance Facility, New York Thruway's maintenance facility for this area, because almost a year ago, we lost two of our dedicated professional employees. Vincent Giamara and Mark Varro were out doing their job to keep the roadway safe, to keep the traveling public safe. And they were in an accident by a tractor trailer that came into the work zone, and Vincent was killed, and Mark has suffered life-changing, life-altering injuries, and they were simply out there doing their job. There's no more important job that we have as leaders to ensure that the work zones are safe and to make sure that our workers at the end of their day, the end of their work day, that they return to their families. There's no reason not to. And we implore the public, we plead with them to pay attention and to focus on this, and that is the point of this week. Again, thank my colleagues and co-workers here from the Thruway Authority, our colleagues from New York State DOT, thank you for being out here. Thank you for what you do every day. Let me now introduce my colleague, DOT Commissioner Marie-Trace Dominguez.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. On behalf of Governor Kathy Hochul, who has a great vision to not only invest in transportation at this historic time, but also invest in worker protection. It's really an honor for me to be here with my colleagues in government, and certainly all the women and men who serve both at the Thruway, at New York State DOT, our colleagues at the state police. We don't do anything without the partnership of our colleagues in state police. And to all the men and women in organized labor and AAA and all of the contractors and consultants who have all come together. This is an enormous coalition. Our colleagues in the legislature, we have great representation by our chairman, Jeremy Cooney, who does a fantastic job advocating for transportation across the state. But Governor Hochul is so focused on worker protection. It's one of the many reasons why we're here today. To talk about, one, it's Work Zone Safety Week, two, the number of provisions that we're putting forward in New York State to help further enhance our workforce, the men and women who protect our roadways, who operate them, who maintain them, who are out in dangerous situations each and every day, protecting us so that we have a safe network to travel on. Today, it really is all about them. All of these folks that you see in these safety vests, this is all about them. This is all about their work. Because as we mark National Work Zone Safety Awareness Week, it is truly one of the most important things that we can do, protect our own employees, our own workforce. The safety of our highway workers is our number one priority. The safety of our team is our number one priority. Why? Because in taking care of them, we can take care of the public. Safety is always number one. It's always primary. The bottom line is that our highway maintenance workers put their lives on the line every day in challenging conditions to make sure that the rest of us can get to our destinations safely. We owe them our respect and our gratitude. Unfortunately, our workers often face threats from speeding motorists, work zone intrusions, and incidents of harassment and assault. Last year, there were 322 intrusions in New York State Department of Transportation work zones across the state that resulted in 2 driver fatalities and 138 injuries. This is simply unacceptable. It is especially important that we are here having this discussion today in Henrietta. It was in this area almost a year ago, as Director Hoare pointed out, that Vincent Grimarva was struck and killed by a tractor trailer while in a Thruway work zone. Vincent was one of 2 Thruway workers who lost their lives last year, and all of us at the DOT joined the Thruway, our colleagues at the Thruway, and the entire New York State family in mourning their loss and their injuries. They are indeed our co-workers and our colleagues. It adds a collective sorrow, quite frankly, to the work that we're talking about today. There have been 58 DOT workers who've been killed in the line of duty in the history of our organization. That's why it makes it all the more important that what we're doing today is so important. These deaths are preventable, and all of us have a role to play in keeping our workers safe. As construction season ramps up across the state of New York, we're using every tool in our toolbox to keep our employees safe. This includes Operation Hard Hat, the highly effective joint initiative that we have with the state police and local law enforcement that puts law enforcement in work zones, conducting speed enforcement and catching people doing sometimes other things. But the bottom line is there's a great partnership there. It's a proven message through Operation Hard Hat. There's also the Automated Work Zone Speed Enforcement Program, which allows for speed cameras in our work zones, both on New York State DOT roadways and the Thruway. The program utilizes cameras to identify speeding drivers in our work zones statewide, including here in Rochester. In the last 2 years, we've piloted the work zone speed cameras across the state. And the bottom line is the data is in. The program works. How does it work? Why does it work? It works because these units have been deployed everywhere, and we haven't had one single worker injured over the period of time that we've had cameras in our work zones. Not one person has been injured. We've not had a fatality in a work zone where we've got speed cameras. More than 425,000 notices of liability have been issued statewide, with over 38,000 repeat offenders since the program started. And every penny we collect in fines goes right back into this critically important program. One deployment that we had when we first started the program was over on Route 104 in Irondequoit. Why does it stand out? Well, I'll tell you why. It stands out for all the wrong reasons. Motorists were clocked at 110, 117, and 139 miles an hour on Route 104. Totally unacceptable. Have you ever stood next to a vehicle that's going by you at 139 miles an hour? The force of the wind alone moves your body. Imagine if you're struck at that rate. People don't survive that. You need to slow down. You need to move over. You need to acknowledge that our folks deserve the respect that they are entitled to. Some people have called this money grab work zone speed cameras. It's not. It's all about safety. And we make no apologies for using every tool we can, anything that we've got at our disposal, and we thank the governor and we thank the legislature for proposing to make the automated work zone speed camera program permanent. This construction season is already in full swing. Locally, we've already initiated work to repave Route 104 and a project to replace 2 bridges on I-490 in Perryton. There's a lot to accomplish in this construction season alone, but we need drivers to do their part and exercise caution and, above all, patience. The last thing we want is another incident like the one captured on film. I don't know if you guys saw it, but down on 81 in Whitney Point last year, we had a distracted rental car driver who literally almost took out one of our highway maintenance workers, inches away from death. Sadly, an increasing number of drivers are allowing their frustration to take over. And I'll point to a couple of recent examples. In Saratoga County just a few weeks ago, an angry driver who refused to stop at one of our work zones climbed out of his truck and literally went and slugged our highway maintenance worker. The tension had been building up so much so that the driver, behind 2 cars behind, actually pulled out their phone and filmed it all. And that's what went on social media. This behavior has to stop. People are out doing a public service. That's why we're so very grateful to Governor Hochul, who put in her budget proposal this year enhanced penalties for assaults against transportation workers. Her proposals will truly improve safety for both workers and drivers. The bottom line is that safety is everyone's responsibility, and I urge everyone to drive safely in our work zones, remain alert, show our workers the respect and gratitude that they deserve. Just like everyone else, they should be able to do their jobs without the fear of being harmed, injured, or killed. This week is dedicated not just to the greater safety message, but also in memory of our fallen highway workers. During our upcoming annual Workers' Memorial event that will be held in Syracuse at the State Fairgrounds, we will honor those who died in the line of duty. And we encourage everyone to wear orange this Wednesday, the color of our safety vest for Go Orange Day. It's one more way to show your appreciation and respect for the difficult job that these women and men do every day. Because at the end of the day, that's all they're asking for, respect. They're truly doing a public service. Let's respect their efforts. Thank you very much. Now it's my pleasure to introduce our Transportation Chairman for the State of New York, Senator Jeremy Cooney. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Good afternoon, everyone. And it's an honor to be here with all these amazing state workers to help kick off National Work Zone Awareness Week. And very grateful for the leadership of Director Hoare and Commissioner Dominguez for what they do day in, day out, and their commitment to their workforce. As you know, here in Rochester, I have the honor to represent the 56th Senate District, but really I'm here in my capacity as the Chair of Transportation in the New York State Senate. And in that role, I have two key priorities. First, to create a modern infrastructure system that all New Yorkers deserve. And second, to make sure that the workers who are creating that infrastructure system are kept safe on the job. And that's why we're here this week, and that's what today's event is all about. You know, it's that season of construction that all of my office phones start going off the hook. Oh my gosh, there's a project on 490. We got stops along the Thruway. They're doing exactly what we asked them to do. When we call and we complain and say, oh, there's potholes. When we call and complain and say, you know, I don't think this bridge is safe. When we call and complain and say, this road doesn't really work well, it should be redesigned. It's the workers behind us here who are doing that work and fixing these roads and making it safer for all of us. So why are we not then affording them that same level of respect and dignity by making their work safe for them? We implemented, and I thank the Commissioner for noting this, we implemented the automated work zone speed enforcement program to encourage drivers to slow down. Now, I spent a lot of time on the New York State Thruway. In fact, I'll be getting back on the road tomorrow to head back to Albany to finish this budget. And I've noticed that there's a change, right? Especially on the Thruway, is that people are indeed starting to slow down. They're seeing the signs, they're seeing 55 miles per hour, they're putting the brakes on, they're moving over, getting out of the way, and recognizing that there are real people who are working on the other side of that work zone. And myself included, when I'm going through these work zones, not only am I slowing down and observing the signs and responsibilities, but I'm looking into the faces of these workers. And I, obviously can't speak to them as they're hard at work, but I'm thinking to myself, these are people who are doing exactly what they've asked us to do. And they've got families to go home to at the end of the night, and I want to make sure they're able to do that. So we want to expand that program. It is working, and the Commissioner's data proves that point. So these workers are out there doing this every day. We need more than just awareness, we need action. And whether we're talking about Governor Hochul's leadership in the state budget, the work that the State Senate Transportation, the State Assembly Transportation Committees are working on, and our partners with local governments, and our partners with our men and women in organized labor. I see representatives from CSEA and PEP here today. It is working together that we can actually change this dynamic, so we do not have a continued loss of life when we're asking people to put their life on the line. It shouldn't be that way. Let them do their work, let them keep us safe, and let everyone go home at night better off. Thank you very much. It's now my honor to recognize a strong partner in the transportation world, as was said before, Major Andre Reed from the New York State Police Chief.
Good afternoon. I'm Major Andre Ray, Troop Commander of Troop T in the New York State Police. I'd like to welcome you all and thank you all for coming to discuss two very important topics. Those topics being work zone safety and the move over law. Just over a year ago today, it was April 15th, 2024, we held this exact same press conference just outside of Albany, New York, just south of Albany. And tragically, approximately 3 weeks later on May 9th, Vincent Giamarva and Mark Vara were both struck in the town of Chile, approximately 12 miles from here, while working in a work zone. Vincent, again, tragically, was killed. His work vest to my left. Mark Vara was critically injured, and from what I was told just a few days ago, is still in a wheelchair. 6 months later, after that, on November 4th, 2024, Thruway Maintenance Supervisor Stephen Evelyn, whose vest is to my right, was struck and killed in the town of Hanover while trying to avoid a vehicle traveling over hazardous markings on the New York State Thruway. We continue to say their names to keep their memories alive. They weren't simply Thruway workers or highway workers. They were somebody's father, somebody's son, somebody's brother. Unfortunately, these are just two examples of the numerous stories of highway workers, emergency responders, and stranded motorists that were struck and killed by a passing vehicle that failed to move over. Between 2016 and 2020, 37 people were killed in New York State in roadside accidents involving disabled vehicles. This is along with approximately 300 annually struck and killed across highways across the United States. Though the move over law has been a law in New York State since 2010 and is a law in all 50 states, too often us as law enforcement stop motorists for violations of the move over law, and their response is that they didn't know it was the law. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration conducted a survey which stated 1/3 of all Americans are unaware that the move over law even exists. So us here, the New York State Police, DOT, Thruway, PEF, CSCA, we're all here asking you, the media, to help us get the message out to the public about the importance of slowing down and moving over when approaching a work zone, a maintenance crew, or any vehicle on the shoulder of the roadway. With construction season underway, and as we approach the summer travel season, it's important that motorists remember to slow down, stay alert, and keep their eyes on the road. We want drivers to remember that the choices that they make behind the wheel can have deadly consequences. The New York State Police are committed and determined to keep our roadways safe for those who travel them and for those who work on them. Troopers will continue to be present in both marked and unmarked cars, outside work zones, as well as inside work zones, enforcing the speed limit strictly, as well as the move over law. I'd like to thank our partners at the Department of Transportation and the Thruway Authority for their continued partnership in efforts in keeping our roadways and work zones safe. And once again, I'd like to ask the public to put safety first, pay attention to your surroundings, obey the speed limit, and move over when you're approaching a work zone, maintenance crew, or any vehicle on the shoulder of the roadway. Thank you, and with that, I'd like to